Hi, welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide. I'm Tammy White, founder of the Bobby White Foundation. And you are?
I'm Bonnie Snyder, your co-host.
We're back to our regular set.
We are.
It feels a little bit better. It was a little awkward last week. Been a weird week, but we want to first off thank John and Rob for taking care of us here.
And don't forget Dylan and Cage.
And Dylan and Cage, yeah, I forgot Dylan did hook us up today. So we always really appreciate them, and so that we're able to do this and be able to come and talk to you guys, and hopefully you can start, interacting with us a little bit more as we change things up a little bit. We have a kind of a new little segment towards the end of the show that, but we're going to keep that a secret for now.
We're going to keep that a secret until the
end of the show. So, but we want to thank you guys too for supporting us and all the different ways that you can support us. Want to go by memory?
Well, we can go by memory, okay?
So you're getting really good at
it. I am. So, our first way, we have our kindness page that allows you to donate in either preset amounts, or you can pick your own amount. But that's one way that you can support us. You can just send a check to the foundation if you want.
That's a nice, easy way.
That's the easy way. You have, for those of, and I say us because I know I'm in this category, those of us who shop on Amazon, you can go on smileamazon.com and pick the Bobby White Foundation as your charity of choice. And donate that way. And the nice thing about doing the Amazon way, it's not costing you anything,
and it's automatic. Once you set it
exactly. Like Amazon does it. The only thing you have to remember is to be on the Smile Amazon page and not the regular Amazon page. I always have to remember to switch over when I'm Amazon.
Yeah, I got mine all set up so it just automatically goes to that one.
I need you need to show me how to do that one.
Yeah, it's really easy.
Mine defaults to the regular page. Yeah. We also have our wonderful T-shirts, which Tammy's wearing.
I'm sporting one of them today.
Tammy's sporting one today. But we have our crew neck that we typically say is the males, and the V-neck is the female. Although you can swap it up if you want to.
It doesn't matter.
I wear both. I have the crew and the V-neck. We have the two designs. But these are just ways that you can support us, support the show, and allow us to continue bringing the message.
And with the T-shirts, you help spread the word.
Exactly. And we also have the Hilton Gardens.
Yes, we have the Hilton Garden Inn has we have 3 artists that their work is representative for the foundation. One is a Florida artist, Neil Adamson. He's actually a retired St. Petersburg fireman. He's been retired for a while, but he's a really great guy. His is the Florida type artwork, and then we have a couple other artists that do the abstract, really, really cool pieces. So, and they've always been a really big supporter of the foundation and our annual fundraiser, Art for Hope, that hopefully we'll be able to do it in person this year out at the hotel. So
multiple ways to support the show. We also have this beautiful piece back here that was done by Tammy's great nieces. Even say they were your great nieces.
Yeah, they're great nieces.
You're old enough to have great nieces.
Oh yeah, that's Haley and Josie. They're so adorable.
But the fact that these girls put a lot of attention and love into into this door, and it is an actual working door.
Yeah, the window does roll up and down.
And so
it's the girls' way to help support the foundation in honor of their uncle, and they loved him so much.
I'm quite sure there's somebody out there who's a Beatles fan, who this is a good
one of a kind.
It is that is the only one there is. There is no other.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so hopefully we'll have some more things coming our way. But I wanted to, and we'll have this up on the website and with the resources, but I wanted to mention the support groups that are popping up.
Yes.
Are really, which are, all of them is something that we haven't had until recently. And and these are in-person support groups, so it's kind of here locally, Tampa Bay. A gal that I know, Julie Kettles, and her husband started a grief support group, and it's every Tuesday night from 7 to 8 at Calvary Baptist Church on Trouble Creek. She and her husband lost their daughter to an overdose, and on top of that, they weren't allowed to adopt the grandchildren. And so they're with somebody else, adopted them in a different state, and so they've got that, you know, it's like a double whammy. You know all about that. It's just yeah. So we got that, and then of course NAMI Pinellas every third. I have Wednesday on here. Is it Wednesday? Yes, third Wednesday of the month. They have a suicide loss support group specific to suicide loss. And I'll have up on the website the dates and the links to them for that. Let's see, Naomi Pinellas, Julie Kettles, Grief Support Group. When's the ASAP one?
Yeah, the Alliance for Substance Addiction Prevention, they started, I found out it is the first Thursday of the month, and that one is actually virtual at the moment. Whether or not that one will eventually become, in person, is anybody's guess. But that one is virtual, so anybody.
Okay, we need to get that information, and then we'll have it up on the we'll have it up on the website and on the Facebook page.
Yeah, if you go for the one for ASAP, if you go to empoweredcommunities.org, you can find all the information on that one. But I want to say that one is. I originally was thinking that was going to be once a week, but that's actually once a month.
Once a month.
And that one, although ASAP originally marketed as for people who have lost someone to an overdose, it has since expanded to just any loss, because what we find, especially when I think about what we've talked about, not only on the show, but guests that have come in, that sometimes these losses can be dual-faceted.
Right.
I lost this person to suicide, but the manner in which the suicide happened was an overdose. And so, you get that crossover. So I think for a lot of, or for several of these organizations that are sponsoring these grief groups, the intent is not to try and limit it to, you can only attend this grief group if you lost the person by this means. Now the overarching theme might be, this is for suicide loss survivors. However, anybody can come because the information is going to be the same. Right.
And then I have something really super exciting, and who would have thought that you could get excited about grief?
I was like, I love this one. I know what's coming.
Yeah, and I just found this out this morning, and so, when we came into the studio, I was like, I have a surprise for you.
You did.
And we're really super excited, and really, when I was driving down here, and I was like, I'm really excited about grief, but this is exciting. Dr. Alan Woolfelt, who is one of the authors that we featured his book.
His was the first book
that we
featured.
Yeah, I believe it was the first book that we featured. It was the
Journey Through the Wilderness of Grief, I think.
The Wilderness of Grief, something like that. Yeah, and it's a nice small book. Easy read. This man, he has written a lot on grief. And the way he does it, he has books on, grief of cancer, different deaths. He writes a lot of books. One of the ones that we really want to do is and do like a mini support group is the suicide wilderness. I can't even. I should have wrote it down. I was just too excited about this part of it, because a lot of his books he has the books, and then he has a journal that you follow along with the book, which is really great. But anyway, he is going to actually be in Clearwater next week, February 23rd, at the North Bay Community Church from 7 to 9 p.m. And when I came in, I'm like, Bonnie, do you want to go to this? And she's like, well, yeah. And I'm like, good, because I already signed you up.
I know.
We're already signed up, so we're going to go and see him, and hopefully we'll get to meet him and talk to him. I'd really like to have him do a little spot on the show.
Would be,
if we could.
I know it's not, like when you showed it to me. Here's the funny thing. I'm thinking, well, yesterday was Valentine's Day,
right?
As you know. And when you came in, like, I got a gift for you, I'm thinking, did she bring me chocolates? She brought me chocolates. And I'm feeling like I need to bring her chocolates. Because, well, yesterday was a day for me. But when you showed me that, I was like, oh my God, that's better than chocolate.
Yeah.
Because again, it's, this idea of, being able to go and actually see in person the author of the first book that we showcased on our show.
Yeah, and I've wanted to, and he's starting to do his grief seminars in person again, and I wanted to do, and he talks about it differently, and I don't know that it's on here, but it's being supportive of somebody that is going through the grief process. And it's more like walking the journey with them, is kind of his way of doing things. And but he has different seminars for the different specific types of grief. And I really want to do the suicide one, so that we can bring it back here to the community. We could do the book without doing that. Because he does have other directions for that, but I think it would. I really want to go through it, and it's out in Colorado, so that's another way you can help us raise some funding so that we can bring more of this information. So Dr. Woolfelt, I'll just read this about what this is. Dr. Alan Woolfelt has been recognized as one of North America's leading death educators and grief counselors. His books have sold more than 1 million copies worldwide and have been translated into many languages. He founded the Center for Loss in 1984 to offer education and support both to grievers and bereavement caregivers. He is known all around the world for his compassionate messages of hope and healing, as well as his companioning philosophy of grief care. Dr. Woolfelt speaks on grief-related topics, offers trainings for caregivers, and has written many best-selling books, including First Aid for Broken Hearts and other resources on grief for both caregivers and grieving people. So he's going to talk about, they have a few things, I'll just read a few of them here. Broken Hearts, a broader framework for loss, exploring the ripple effect of grief, distinguishing grief from mourning. So I'm excited for us to be able to attend this. So, yeah, so that's an excitement about grief. And I've emailed him a couple times saying, we do this show, we would really like to get you on. And he comes down here. Somebody else had told me that he comes down here. He hasn't done it in the last couple of years because of the pandemic. So this is the first time that he's been back for that.
Looking forward to it.
I know. I'm so
Looking
excited.
forward to it.
I'm excited.
So,
So you had mentioned, yesterday was Valentine's Day, and
yeah, by the time you guys, by the time the show airs, like,
it's going to be a week later.
I think we have, mentioned to you guys that, we tape on Tuesday and the show airs on Saturday. So for us, yesterday was Valentine's Day, which, was our third, anniversary. I mean, it's Aiden's, lost day. And what I found about it is, the day in itself can be, I don't know, different, I guess. Actually, Valentine's. I mean, prior to Aiden's loss, I was like, I really paid no stock in Valentine's Day. I mean, I was single. It's kind of, if I want chocolate, I'll go buy chocolate myself. There was a funny meme that was going on. That's one said, "Tomorrow is Valentine's Day. I'm already not smelling the flowers that I'm not going to get, or smelling the flowers that I'm not going to get," or something like that, which doesn't bother me. I don't like flowers anyway. So I was like, don't buy me, I was like, don't, when I was married, don't buy me flowers. Because I kill artificial plants. I think I said this before. But, the days, I always approach, and I find, even the message that we do on this particular show is where, grief and loss has its sadness component to it, but at the same time, overcoming and being able to celebrate, the person. It's like, yeah, right, we don't have that person here with us, in a physical being. But I remember, calling, Carl and Kira, and just, looking at my social media page, and, certain members of the family saying, okay, hey, if I'm off grid, tomorrow, or if I'm off grid for the next couple of days, please understand this is a tough week for the family, because we had, the 8th, actually went to work on the 8th. That was his, he would have been 17.
Right.
And it was funny because I remember telling my supervisor, we had a meeting scheduled, for she and I looked at her and I said, oh, that's why I came to work today, is because we had this meeting. And, she knew I was taking, yesterday, I took yesterday off. But I was like, yeah, I said, it's hard to believe he would have been 17. And, in the course of it, we were talking about, we should be talking about colleges. I'm thinking, Nana, I need a new car. I just got my license. I need a car. Or his parents saying, hey, do you want to, split a car 3 ways? And, some people have this innate need on anniversaries sometimes, and I'm being a little cynical, but then again, not. But this innate need to wallow in, which, I like this because, excuse me, it ties into the chapter in the book. I was like, wow, this chapter hit on this time like fate, I guess.
It was the same way with last week's chapter.
Excuse me, yeah, but
yeah,
it was, it was an interesting day. I spent it. I went to lunch with my neighbor's mom, excuse me, and Greg, and the family was like, got you on speed dial if I need you. Nobody called, so I guess we were all, it was okay. We got through it. We did get through.
Yeah, it's
I'm so sorry.
It's kind of a weird day for me. I always liked Valentine's Day, and oftentimes, and it happened not only on Valentine's Day, but when we would get each other cards, quite often we end up getting each other the same card. And I mean, we would just laugh about it, but the last card I got from Bobby was Valentine's Day, and it was really like one of the nicest cards that he got me, and I pulled it out. I keep everything. My neighbor teases me about it, but so I pulled it. I pulled it out and read it, and I didn't cry as much as I normally cried. Then a little tear came out, but I felt myself. I was sad, but I worked outside. It was cold yesterday.
It was.
But I went outside and I worked outside, had gloves on, and if you kept moving, it wasn't so cold. But I was working on a permaculture garden that
I
I'm
saw the
starting.
pictures of it. It was amazing.
So we had this bird bath that we got years ago, and it's solid concrete. It's heavy. So I was trying to figure out how to move it, and my neighbor Jeff said that he'd come over and help me. But I was just like, I'm going to do this. And I did. I figured out how to do it. I took my neighbor's garden cart and put it on the back of the tractor, and I had this big piece of wood that fit right on top of it. So it was almost the same height as the bowl part, which was pretty much, it was really heavy. So I was able to scoot it up on there. So I did that, and then the hard part was the base. And I was like, man, how am I going to get this over there? And I was going to wait for Jeff, and then I was like, no, you can do it. So I just took it, and I rolled, and I rolled, and I rolled. And I was able to do it, and everything was all level, and it's all set up now. I was so proud of myself. But, yeah, I had to be outside yesterday to breathe the fresh air. And 'cause everybody was putting all these lovely things on Facebook, and everything, and I'm like, that's just not fair. But
Yeah, and again, like I said, I typically don't pay Valentine's Day any mind, but Greg was like, so, what do you do for Valentine's Day? And I was like, I really haven't given it, given it any thought.
right.
I don't really do Valentine's Day, but it was like, just don't buy me. I don't do flowers. So what's he do? I get this. I'll send you a picture of it. Or no, I did post a picture of it today.
Oh, yeah, I just saw it just a little bit.
It's a real flower, but it's like coated with something that it's supposed to live longer, but it's just the rose itself. And I was like, really, small and cute. And I'm like, oh, that's really nice. But then I said, you do understand this is, the anniversary, so I don't. He was like, no, it's something to, take your mind off things. No, I'm good. But, no, I'm like, this is the first Valentine's Day that I did anything Valentine-y in a while. I'm like, I don't do Valentine's Day.
We would just we'd just cook a nice meal, like have a steak and baked potato or something, And I went ahead and I bought all the stuff to do it. And then I was on a Zoom call with a gal in Canada last night, and I'll have to, when I do a little bit more research, I'll tell you more about it, and we may have her on the show sometime soon. But by the time I got done with all that, I was like, I don't want to eat, I don't want to cook, I don't want anything. So tonight or one night this week, I'll have my Valentine's dinner.
This was a fattening weekend because you had the Super Bowl on Sunday.
Yeah, that too.
And, the same, I affectionately call them the crew. So we had the crew over, or we were over, my neighbor's house, the crew, barbecued and whatnot. Actually, it was like, was it Saturday night? Saturday night we went to a Vietnamese restaurant. I'd never done Vietnamese food before.
Where's there? There's one around here?
Going down Palm Harbor on US 19.
Oh, okay.
It's called Pho Queen.
Oh, really?
Craig was, Craig, it's my neighbor's name, my best friend. He's just insistent, I want pho because I didn't get pho on my birthday.
Okay.
And I'm like, okay, we went to Greg's show on his birthday and he wanted pho and his wife was like, we're not having pho. So we had breakfast instead. But yeah, we did, pho on Saturday. Sunday we did, the whole Super Bowl thing where, everybody, bought something to eat. So we ribs and chicken and bagagna. Bagagna's a Brazilian beef. It's a Brazilian steak. Oh, if you've never had bagagna,
I've never even heard of that either.
You love bagagna because it's fresh. It's not frozen. And then yesterday, of course yesterday, went out to dinner. Yeah, it was a fat week. Yeah, I had to call and make sure my gym membership was still active because And I was like, oh yeah, select. I was like, yeah, and I just need to bring my fat self back into the gym.
Yeah, I need to do that too. I was supposed to do that last month, and it's just like, nah, I haven't done it yet.
Yeah, the things you do, I mean, the normal life, the life becomes a little normal.
Yeah. So,
Even though, looking into our, where we are in the book.
okay, so our book, again, you can get this on smileonamazon.com if you want to go through this with us. And I just really love this book because I think a lot of our books have been interactive, but this one is like even more interactive than the ones that we've had in the past. And chapter 4, I was going to have some graphics up for everybody, but I think they're redoing the website or something, and I wasn't able to get anything. So hopefully by the time this airs, we'll have some more stuff up there. If not, I'll copy a couple pages out of my book and put it up there on the Facebook page. So, chapter 4 is the inside view, which I got to get my watercolor pens out and color this.
And of course, I'm not writing in my book.
I'm way past that. It's way too late for that. So, at the beginning of this first chapter, and again, it's a nice short chapter, but she gives you space and things to do, little activities to do, and so anyway, it starts out, grief itself is a sacred space, not necessarily good space, not necessarily bad space either, but it is a space set apart from normal life. You cross a threshold when you enter into grief. It's a place not everyone can go, even if they want to accompany you there.
What I found very, it's funny when you can't even think of a word to describe, that. And when I read that, I'm like, wow. It was like it was a wow, because I felt that particular intro to the chapter nailed things right, right. Because however many times you hear someone say, when you're on this journey, I'll be there with you. I won't leave you. Just call, I'm just a phone call away. And, it is, it's one thing, to say it and mean it and attempt it. She hit a nail on the head. It was like, even though people want to go there with you, they can't. And, and I think what I find, it's like, what do you mean I can't? I want to be here for you. I want to be here for you. And on one level, yes, you get it. But on the other side of it is, and as all of the books, have highlighted, everybody's journey is different, even amongst, if I, for example, I'll use my family just, for a second to illustrate it. All of us in our family experienced the loss of Aiden and Patrick. At the same time, we might all be there for one another. However, where we are and how we process the loss is so different from each other. Even though we were connected, biologically to the two of them that were lost. Right. So like I said, that was a wow one for me. I'm like, I really liked, I really loved this intro.
Well, and I can also use my in-laws as a prime example too. My two sister-in-laws and my brother-in-law and myself. We are all taking this same journey, but we are all taking it so differently. So differently. Even, the Bobby's siblings, they just, not out of the three of them, all three of them their journey is so different.
I like what she says. She, continues in the chapter about mapping the terrain, and where she says the world can become very small when you're inside grief. Time, space, love, distance, they make a unique geography. And, so she goes on to talk about what does your geography look like? What does your terrain look like? And I like that she has the example of, I got to look close here. If you look at your house, what is something about the house that reminds you of the person? Like here, where she puts, there was a double rainbow over the farm at your memorial. I think in our house, we joke about who just at the garage door. It's something, for us, that focal place for Patrick is the garage door. I'm not sure what it is in the house, for Aiden, not being there. But, like I hear, Carl saying certain smells. We go back, last year, our early last year segment, certain smells, certain foods just don't taste or smell the same anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that and we've mentioned too that sometimes you out of the corner of your eye, you think that person is there, they're walking by, and then you look and they're not there, but you just know they were there.
Yes.
And there's just things that make you feel it. Yeah, and she leaves this next page blank, and I'll put I'll put the image of this this page, mapping the terrain, up on the Facebook page.
Well, see, and I like the way she says, as you're creating this map of the world that you see it, note that you don't need to be bound by the rules of the physical world. And, what I like about that, not being bound by the rules of the physical world, it goes back to, and again, this just happened the other night, we're in the living room if we were doing something, and, I didn't notice, I think, Devin, my grandson, Pat's son did. And he was like, who just shut the garage door? And, I'm looking at him like, did the garage door just shut? And, so I just very casually, sat back and I was like, oh, that's probably your dad. Pat, go sit down. Yeah, like, what are you doing at the garage? I was cleaning out the garage this weekend and I didn't get it done. All right, so, are you shutting the door and discuss, like, she didn't clean the garage again. But taking stuff like that, and almost like, okay, you don't have to be bound by the physical world. Because some people would look at you and say, okay, it was the wind, it was, right. The house is settling, your house is uneven and the doors are just shutting by themselves. If that's the case, that might very well be the case. However, for the purpose of this exercise, there are some of us, and I'll put myself in it.
I'm the same way. Yeah.
If you want to say it's my house settling, that's fine. And it's not even a peace of mind kind of thing, to be honest with you. Because prior to Patrick, it was George. George, go sit down. Or George, thank you for shutting the garage door. Now I don't know who's shutting the garage door in my house. But, this particular activity, or assignment, to me allows you to really, get inside your headspace and continue. I don't look at it more as processing the loss. That's not how I took this. I didn't take this as loss processing. I took this as a very unique way to keep that person's memory alive.
Right. Yeah, because one of the things that I've had a hard time with is, you have this life before, and it's a life that you thought you were going to have now, and it's like, okay, this is what it looked like. I know it can be good, but how I can bring him with me. He can still be a part of that journey. And what do I want that to look like now? Even though it's hard because you still hold on to that past, but it's like it's not there anymore. And
so true. I mean, that's the same thing with, when you look at, again, I'll use, Devin as an example. He's, just turned 12. And he, get a little personal here, folks, so, forgive me. But he comes in and he, tells me he's having, a pain in his chest. And I'm like looking at his pain, it's like this pain in his chest, and he, shows me where the pain is. And, I'm thinking for a moment, all right, of course, some people would go right to the gloom and doom. Oh my God, is he, is it breast cancer or something like that? It wasn't. And I'm looking at his, face is, starting to break out a little bit. And in my head, I'm processing. This little boy is starting to go through puberty.
Oh boy.
And, I'm sitting back and I'm chuckling. And of course, I look up at Patrick's urn, and I was like, all right, dude, you got to help me with this one. At one hand, but then I'm like, I really don't. But then again, no, not really. Because in my head, I'm kind of chuckling. I was a single mom,
Right.
so Patrick and his brother, so explaining, male puberty to them, or I don't remember if their dad had this conversation with them or not. I'm not sure. Their dad was active back then. I'm not bashing their dad, but I'm sitting back and I'm looking at. I was like, all right, so what does this look like now, in that I have the responsibility for this little boy, who just turned 12. He's on the threshold of becoming a teenager. He's starting to go, and I remember looking at my neighbor Craig. 'Cause part of this was some other going on this weekend. I looked at both of them and I was like, all right, guys, help me with this. It's like, I don't know what it. It's like, I don't know what it feels like to be a guy going through puberty. So help me with this one. And all the while, I'm just thinking, if you were still here, how would you be? How would you be handling the fact that your son is is growing up? Then we get into the. I could just imagine the conversations we were having, earlier before we started taping. Nana, don't buy me gel deodorant.
Yeah.
It has to be this one, because this one doesn't really work. And I'm like, okay. And there's a fondness, and then there's a sadness that goes on at the same time, where it's like, I wonder what these conversations would be like if Pat were here. But at the same time, celebrating, and embracing the fact that I'm having these conversations. I'm raising Patrick all over again. And it's like I'm getting, a second run with my son, kind of thing. So, it's a journey.
An interesting one in many ways.
Yeah. I mean, again, as we say, it's not a journey that I would have necessarily chosen.
No. Nobody does.
No, but it's a journey that, and I said that word but, and I try to limit him. It's not a journey that I would have chosen. However, it's a journey that I am embracing, and acknowledging that it's the one that I'm on now.
Right.
And I'm up to the challenge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how where I'm at now. It's like it's a new journey. It's gonna be a good one, but there's still that pullback, and it's learning to embrace the new journey, the new life that you didn't choose.
Well, and I think it's, that's a really nice segue into like the next part of this chapter, where it talks about, points of view, and it talks about how others see me, how I really feel, how I wish I felt. And, I am looking at this, and, the part of this chapter that, kind of resonates is, how many times do you hear somebody say to you as, a lost survivor, or how many times have we ourselves has said that to somebody else who, experienced a loss, even, before our losses, or even after. However, I hear people say, you're the strongest person I've ever met. Like, you are so strong. And I'm looking at them and I'm like, I go, it's like I can go one of two ways with that. Way one, like, you need my glasses more than I do, because obviously you don't, like, I don't know what you're looking at, but you don't see it. I tend more to lean more towards the opposite direction, because it's like, all right, I don't know if I would necessarily say I'm the strongest person that anybody's ever met. However, I do have the capacity, or I'm able to acknowledge, yeah, been through some stuff, and I'm still standing.
Right.
And so, it's what I find, what I took away from this particular, piece was not to discount or invalidate or diminish when someone else sees you differently than how you see yourself, because it brings me back to what my sister once said to me. She's a fiend when it comes to working out, and she's like perfect weight, perfect shape and whatnot. If she wasn't my sister, I could hate her, kind of thing. I don't hate anybody or anything. But anyway, I remember looking at her one time and saying, "Oh my gosh, you are in such good shape. I wish, like." She said something about it. I was like, "Stop! You're perfect. Like, what's going on?" And she commented, "Only nobody sees the flaws that we see, when we're talking about ourselves." And I want to, and that's resonated with one, because I believe it. I was like, I can co-sign on that. It also applies here. Sometimes people see either what we are unable to see because we're so busy processing, that the sadness and the grief and the loss, that they're not, we're not able to see when someone says, "Hey, you look okay." Or my other one, I have this going on sometimes. And a lot of times it's, I'm thinking about something, or, nothing really going on. It's my face, guys. I'm sorry. Talk to my parents. Talk to my mom. My dad's unfortunately deceased. Talk to my mom about this. But, when I hear someone say, "Why are you angry?" I'm not angry. Yeah. Well, what I see is, there's that perception, of what I see is demonstrating anger. I'm not angry. And all right, let me sit back. "Oh, this," and I jokingly say, "Oh, this," I'm just deep in thought. Or, I have a headache. Or sometimes it's like, yeah, I am upset. Usually it is, I can't control my face. I mean, I should be able to, but, seriously, I can't control my face. I don't know, I never know what my face is doing, unless you point out this is what's going on. But then, being able to come back and saying, okay, how do I really feel at the moment? So again, if it's like, "You look angry, you're angry." "No, I'm not angry." "Well, your face says you're angry." "Well, no, I'm not angry. How I really feel is, I'm concentrating, I'm deep in thought." But then it goes down to, how do I really wish that I felt? And what I find, have found along this journey is, how I wish I felt is exactly how I want to feel at the moment. It's not like "Oh, I wish I didn't feel this." At least my approach is, I don't say, I wish I did not feel this. I mean, nobody wants to feel the negative emotions, but at the same time, I find when I'm going through those negative emotions, it's exactly where I need to be at the moment.
Yeah, I get that, but like for me, it's kind of like I have this heaviness on my heart, and it's just a really weird pain. But I've had moments of, like in this picture of the woman holding the flowers. I know that there is a happiness feeling, and I want to be there, but I want to be there more often than with the heavy, hurtful heart. And I know it's there. I know it can be there. When is it going to be there more? It's getting to that. And part of it is getting used to that new life. And trying to figure out a way to embrace it, just so that the heaviness isn't there as much. Because it'll probably always be there, but it doesn't have to be there all the time.
Well, it's kind of like what we say, when we're talking about, processing negative emotions and whatnot. I always tell, people that I work with, don't feel guilty,
Yeah.
because you're having a negative emotion, whatever that negative emotion is, anger and whatnot. And again, this is guys, you've heard this ad nauseum. It's okay. The trick becomes when you are able to manage where that negativity or those negative feelings and emotions are coming in. So, you sit down one day because, if we look at, yesterday, it's third anniversary, one of two things could have happened. I could have, walked in the house, shut myself in, forgot the world existed. I don't want to be bothered, bawl my eyes out all day long. And then, go back out and embrace the world today.
Right.
Or, it could be, okay, you know what? This is that day. It sucks. I wish he was still here. He's not, So the only thing we can do is embrace the memories that we had. I find it, it is a little exercise. Let's, think about the what ifs, but in a positive way. So I find myself thinking, so I wonder, let's see, what kind of car would I have gotten him? I picture him and I just think of I was like, would I have allowed him to drive? I'm thinking the kids are growing up. They're going to be driving soon. I'm going to let them drive this car. I'm going to let them drive this car. I wonder what he would have been studying in college. What would have been his career path? I see him doing this versus he'll never go to college and he'll never have children and he'll never do this. It's more of a, I can imagine what kind of, would he have embraced being knocked off the baby pedestal, by his baby sister? Well, I'm going to say yes. I could see him. It's like, oh my gosh, he'd be such a wonderful big brother. And so again, it's like, allowing yourself to move forward. It's like it's. I was doing an activity. I do a group before I come to the studio. And one of the things I asked, this particular group, is like, what does your life look like now, versus, then? What, basically, what are the pros and cons of, what we're talking about, forgiveness, mind you, but you can apply it to this as well. What are the pros and what are the cons? And, what does this new life really look like? And, what I find with this is, again, people tend to, if I allow myself to move forward, that is somehow diminishing or minimizing the importance of the person that's not here.
Well, and sometimes you might feel guilty, because you are you have those moments of feeling better and doing better. But another thing is, either way, don't be hard on yourself when you're either in those down times or not thinking that, things aren't moving, or again, you are moving forward and maybe you feel guilty. Just don't be hard on yourself, because you're on a journey and it's time.
And I would say explore the reason for the guilt. Because,
Yeah, exactly.
when you find yourself in a comfortable, or whether you want to call it a comfort spot, a happy spot, a spot of acceptance, then you step back, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to feel that way, because tap the brakes I told her, tap the brakes. Let's think about this for a moment. Where is the guilt coming from? You're not, if I use this in terms of, the activity I was doing about forgiveness, well, why should I forgive this person for hurting me? Basically what I'm doing is I'm giving them a hard pass. I'm telling them what you did to me is okay. It's like, that's not what forgiveness is. The same way where, just because you're moving on with, your life, you're not, by default, saying that this person didn't matter, or, that person didn't matter, or, you don't miss them. It's giving yourself permission to adopt to the new normal, or your new normal.
Right. Well, and, you can still bring that person along with you on that journey.
Oh, yeah.
Just in a different way.
Absolutely.
And if you can learn to embrace that, maybe, that will make it a little bit easier. And it's learning to embrace that too. But yeah, they can still go. That's what I feel. You're going to come along on this ride with me, whether you like it or not now.
And like what she, says here, about, excuse me, I'm not myself, she says in the early weeks or months of grief, appearing normal is tricky. For example, a cashier asks you how your day is and you burst into tears. You have to pay the parking attendant but can't remember how to make the correct change. You want to tell people that why you're acting strange, but you can't find the words. Sometimes saying things out loud is impossible. And I think what she's saying is little by little, it's, again, if I use it, and use going through a surgery, as an example. The early days of the surgery, the wound is there, like you just endured the surgeon's cut. The surgical site is sore, it's painful. But over time, it starts to heal. Eventually you get the stitches of the staples out. You still have some healing process, and every, once in a while, you look down and you see how that scar is still there. And I use myself as an example. The huge surgical scar right here, and I look at it sometimes, and I'm like, I remember when when I went through the surgery. I remember what it felt like afterwards. I remember, the pain that I had to endure as I was healing. I remember, getting back to quote unquote normal. Now, at the end of the day, that scar is still there. It's become a part of who I am. It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't,
Well, and that's what she says at the end here, personifying your grief. Who are you?
Mm-hmm. And then wait. I like that. Who are you? And then wait.
I know. Yeah, I like that too. So she has on this one page, and this is the one I was trying to download. I'll see if we can get it up, that you can make your own stickers. And she has some here that have sayings on them, and then there's some blank ones that you can make your own. So let's see here.
I like that. Don't ask how I'm doing. I can't answer right now.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you don't have the words.
Yeah, you don't. And that's okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
So the next one is going to be This All Hurts.
This All Hurts, yes.
Yeah. But so this is a really great book. Again, you can, if you want to go through it with us, you can get it on smile.amazon.com. And it's a great book. Kind of, another healing journey, which you may be taking many of them to do this. So we're getting towards the end. We have a new thing, but we want to first put up the helpline numbers. So if you know anybody that's having a difficult time, please put these numbers in your phone, have them readily available. You just never know when you may need them, or when someone else might need them. And so we want to start leaving everybody with a positive thought at the end of our show. And so I came up with this last week, and I texted Bonnie, and I'm like, what do you think about this? And
I love the
so we
idea.
thought it was a great idea. So Bonnie I had her do the first positive quote, and I think it was very appropriate. So if, I even wrote it down because I knew I'd forget it. But Rob has it there somewhere. It is, be the things you loved most about the people who are gone.
I found that very fitting because what that spoke to me was that was the best way to honor and memorialize those that are lost by being the best parts of them. So when I think of, and pulling that up on Aiden's anniversary, I think about, he was so sweet, he was so helpful, he was so selfless, always cared about others. And I was like, you know what, if I can embrace all of those qualities of him, bring it, that's where I want to be.
Then we're doing good. We want to be our best for them. So remember, there's always hope.